Ever wonder why some office spaces make you feel energized while others drain your motivation? Jho Silalahi's HR leadership demonstrates how environmental psychology principles can revolutionize employee engagement. Professionally Psyched is the podcast that brings you cutting-edge psychology research and real-world insights from our psych community of clinicians, researchers, and educators alike. In our special alumni spotlights, we chat to graduates from our psychology degree programs about how their skills learned in the classroom have become powerful tools supporting diverse career journeys and successes. Hi everyone and welcome to Professionally Psyched. I'm Jessica Muller, PhD candidate in Public Health at James Cook University, and before we get started we'd like to acknowledge the custodians of the land on which we record, and for me today that's the Bindal and Wulgurukaba peoples. And I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and cultures from wherever you may be tuning in from across the country. In this alumni spotlight, Dr. Amanda Krause sits down with Jho Silalahi about his unique approach to human resources that combines counselling skills with strategic office management. Learn how Jho uses AI and why fresh graduates shouldn't worry about lacking experience. So grab your headphones and get ready to get professionally psyched about applying psychological principles to create thriving workplace cultures. Enjoy.
Jho, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. To start, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Amanda. My name is Jho. Currently, I'm working as an HR manager at an investment company. Our company size is about 600 people, managing several different line of businesses.
Yeah, so could you tell me a little bit about your journey sort of from graduation to the role you're in now?
All right. So I joined GCU back in 2012, majoring in psychology. And the reason I finally decided to join as an HR practitioner is because initially I have passion for people. So I love to talk with people. I love to understand people. And that's the main trigger for me to work in the HR field. And now after, I think it's about 10 years now, because of the education, because of the learning that I've been given from GC as well as my previous company, I've been nowadays being appointed to become the head of HR for this company. So that's a brief how I'm here today.
Yeah, and I suppose with HR, it really is dealing with people all the time, right? So was there a particular subject or topic that has really benefited you in your role now?
Maybe to explain on that, I think it will be best for me to explain the pillars that I'm handling. I think the two pillars that I'm handling is actually the HRBP as well as the office management. The HRBP side, we handle more towards lots of employee relations, meaning we need to be a good listener for the employee when they have problems, not only about their mental health, but also when they have a challenge with managing their managers, trying to understand what the managers wants, trying to align about their career aspiration. So I think for this area, right, I think counseling is really helps me a lot. How we actually become a good listener for people's, how we try to build a rapport with people. I think a lot of subjects in counseling is really helping me as an HR to be able to build a relationship with the employee I'm working with. And secondly is actually the environmental side. I think the environmental side really, like when you want to create a collaboration space, right? Especially in the office, then you need to really think about the colors. You need to really think about the shape of the table. It even matters, right? If you want to have more collaboration space, you need to have more round tables compared to if you want to create a cafeterias, right? Where people just quickly eat, right? You need to put it like a bench instead of make it a round table. Those kind of knowledge is actually something that we implement at my work. It's really helping me to really understand how should I place things around in the office.
I think that's so interesting because I think for most of us, we probably don't think about the shape of a table or
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, we probably at home think about the colors of the walls, but probably
Mm.
not in the workplace. But you're really having to think on so many different levels of the impact that that has for the employees.
Yes, yes, yes. Of course, I think it's important for us not only seeing the employee as a person itself, but to create the environments, right, where people can be productive. One of the lessons that I also always keep implement till today is about, especially about the lightnings, right? you cannot create a really dim light at the office because it makes people sleepy. So you need to really create an environment where people can wake up and do the works very well. So I think that's something that we really learn from the schools and can really apply it into our office.
Yeah, in your office, but I think people can think about that for their own work too.
Yeah.
With your company, you said there's quite a few people. Is everybody back in the office, or do you also have people working from home? Do you have to manage people who are in different geographic locations?
So basically, our employees is actually working in hybrid mechanisms. So we have 3 days policy, so 3 days at the office and 2 days at homes. The reason behind it is we believe that we need to balance between collaborations as well as a focus, dedicated time to focus on the projects. So the 3 days is most of the time we encourage people to come to the office and then do some of collaborations of work because we feel that by working physically, you can actually collaborate better. And of course, people still need their own space time. If you see 2 days, right, you can see me. I'm actually at my homes. So Friday, probably I'll be more focused on doing my individual's work.
Can you talk me through a little bit more what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Mm. So in day-to-day basis, I look over several things. First is about recruitment. So our company is still hiring at the moment. Either it's replacements or either we're trying to start a new line of business. We need to fill the right people at the right place, right? So we help the management, the organization to grow by recruiting people to join in. Secondly, is about managing the talents, meaning that we review performance. We actually having a regular review of performance review in organizations where we actually have the leaders set up a process where leaders and the individuals can talk about their progress as well as their achievement for the past 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to set the alignment expectations right. Third is actually to handle several employee cases such as people are missing, we cannot contact them, so we need to figure out how where this employee and how should we reach them, and other employee issues such as probably conflict between the leaders and the individuals. There we actually helping them to resolve those issues because sometimes they need a third party to really reconcile about the relationship, because we believe when the leaders and the individuals unable to connect, unable to work very in collaborative manners, then the work won't be delivered on time and it will affect the delivery of the company. So that's probably what my day-to-day looks like.
Yeah. What are your top tips for dealing with conflict management?
My top tip is actually we need to listen before we give suggestions. I think that's what's important. I mean, people have their own concern. So if you have conflict between the manager and the lead and the manager and the individuals, right, you need to listen from both parties. And for me, what I did most of the time, I'll have a personal conversation with them, every single one of them first. Then after I understand what's the concern of both parties, then I'll bring them together to talk about the issues and the concerns that they have. And our role is not to actually to support one or the other. It's actually we need to support both of them because in a human relationship, right, to make it works, the effort is need to be from both of them. It cannot be one or the other. It need to be both of them. One, the manager need to improve, the employees need to improve. So to be a good listener is one thing that you need to do.
Yeah, I was reading something recently where it was saying how a lot of people are afraid of conflict, and so people sort of shy away from it, but that actually isn't a helpful strategy. There doesn't have to be anger or aggression in conflict, that actually working through it can
Mm,
help people be more productive and more creative. And so it's almost a shifting of that mindset to not be afraid to
correct.
actually deal with it.
Yeah, agree with you, Amanda.
Mm. I think you're also in a really interesting position because you deal with hiring people. What do you see when you're looking at people applying for positions? What are the good things that you see, and maybe what are things that maybe you would recommend staying away from when you are applying for new positions?
If we look at fresh graduates, right, the people who are trying to look for a job, when I met with them, they also have tendency that I don't have experience. So
Mm.
that's why I'm not picked up by the job by the employers, and it's difficult for me to get job. I think that's a wrong mindset. Everyone start from zero, right? Even me, I don't have any experience before, but I got the job, and I'm actually have the experience, right? So I think what I'm always like to share, especially for fresh graduates to look for a job, I think there's three things that we need to develop. I think first of all is about our technical skill. I mean, like you are studying psychology, then you need to understand about your subject and things that is transferable to your the job that you are actually looking, right? That's one thing. But the second thing that people tends to forget is about the soft skills. So soft skills is actually something that you build not only by studying alone. You need to interact with the people around you. So I believe like in GCU, right, we have a lot of projects. We have a lot of different projects where we need to collaborate with our mates to really prepare presentations, really do a research, things like that. It's actually building your soft skill capabilities such as project management, your leadership skills. And secondly, is about also building capability in soft skills outside of the education systems, such as from you probably join some clubs, right? In the clubs, you're taking a role as a project managers to do an events. That's something that actually building your capability and skill. And I believe people sometimes are not really seeing it as a value, but I believe as HR, when I look at the people who are actively participate in different projects, different clubs, I can see that this person is already able to work very well with people because in organization we to deliver something we cannot depend on our own. We need to collaborate with other departments, stuff like that. So these kind of things that you did in your university is actually helping you to be acknowledged as a better candidates compared to others. So don't take clubs activity as something that is unimportant. See it as something that can actually groom your soft skill. And the third part is actually about the mindset. So people, we are looking for people who are actually showing ability to adapt with the changes that quickly happens in the markets, right? When we look at the CV, we can actually quickly identify this kind of persons, people who are actively moving to different projects, different schools activities, or even communities. There tends to be more flexible in terms of changes in the organizations because that's very, really important, especially with this technology that's coming in, with the AI thing coming in. Changes keep coming, right? Changes cannot be avoided. The only constant thing is changes. So we need people who actually have the mindset that be adaptable to the change itself.
I loved how you were talking there about those soft skills and that you can get them within the classroom, but also through volunteer activities and organizations. One of the things you mentioned there, though, was around doing research collaborations.
Mm.
And I wondered what, if any, role sort of your research skills from your undergraduate degree help you in your current role as an HR manager.
I see. The research part, I use it a lot in when I'm doing a survey, especially to do a pulse survey and check in for the employee engagement. So in our company, we doing a regular pulse check-ins in terms of how healthy is the organization is. This will be a baseline for us to make some kind of interventions and how we should create a strategy to help creating the better environment for organization. So this survey is sometimes we build our own and we use approach from the research to help us to build this survey itself. We use things like correlation studies. We use a statistic mechanism to see whether which variable is actually predicting which variable, things like that, to really justify the survey itself.
Yeah, that's interesting. So even though you're not in necessarily a research role, you're in a very people role, you're still using survey data to understand people's behaviors and their engagement.
Yes, yes, correct.
Yeah. How interesting. I'm just wondering if you see any emerging trends or big issues that you think our graduates are going to be able to get their hands dirty with.
I think it's about the utilization of AI itself. The most important part, how we utilize that, not depending on them too much, but how you actually utilize them to make your work better. For me personally, I use AI a lot of things to sometimes a very simple work. One is actually when I have a interview with my candidates, right? Most of the time after the interview, I'll write a feedback forms to pass it to the hiring manager to them to review. Nowadays, I can use AI to help me to take notes of all the interview that happens and somewhat magically it creates a notes that I can pass directly to the managers. But I think that's the beauty and how things work even faster for me in my day-to-day work. So, but one thing that to be noted is actually you need to review also how the what's the AI is producing, right? For me, I cannot just copy and paste all the summary the AI give to my hire manager. I need to review it first before passing to my hire manager. So my my message is actually you need to actually knows how should actually use an AI to help you to work, but not really highly dependent on them or even let them work for you. So you need to be smart enough to actually use this AI to help you to make your work faster.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice point, and it sort of brings us full circle, is that yes, we have these tools and they might help us work better, faster, more efficiently, but with our psychology training, it's still about interactions between people and still understanding that, we are responsible and in charge for those interactions. So, Jho, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
You're welcome, Amanda. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to Professionally Psyched. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the ongoing support of our Psych community. If you'd like to show your support or if you want us to cover anything on the pod, reach out via our emails, and don't forget you can listen to full episodes on Spotify.